water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived in harmony, but that all changed once the Fire Nation attacked. Yep, Avatar, The Last Airbender. I can't believe I only just watched it for the first time like a month ago. One thing that this series did very well was its characters. My god, do I love these characters. But what's very important with your character is how you introduce them. The first impression. That's why on the third day of Oddly Specific Top 10 List Week, I am counting down the top 10 best character introductions in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now keep in mind that last time I made a video about Avatar, it got claimed 3 times and then I uploaded it a 4th time and it finally went up without a problem. That's because Viacom's a bitch, so I'll have to do some weird filters, so hopefully you can excuse that. And yeah, now before we get started, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below. Subscriber.
I wanted to give to you, the last part of your notes here, the significance spiritually of the number 10.
We start off this list with one of my favorite characters that came with one of my favorite twists in the series, being King Bumi. He appeared in the 5th episode, The King of Omashu. The episode starts with Aang, Katara, and Sokka going to Omashu and go to a temple where Aang is reminded of his old childhood friend Bumi from 100 years ago. They make a bit of a mess outside of the temple and get sent to a certain king who throws them a feast. That king then gives Aang many challenges while a crystal encases his friends. After all the challenges are done, the king gives Aang one last challenge, and that is for Aang to figure out his name, which Aang comes to the realization that the king is Aang's childhood friend Bumi, and he's still alive. This is a really good twist in my opinion because it shows that, along with Appa, Aang has Bumi from his childhood. Throughout all the challenges as well, Bumi sort of seemed like a jokester and made a really good introduction for one of my favorite side characters. Now we get to a character that is genuinely terrifying in Wanchitong. Wanchitong was introduced in episode 10 of season 2 titled The Library, where Team Avatar go to Wanchitong's spiritual library to see any tricks to defeating the Fire Nation, which would later turn out to be an eclipse, which would make firebenders powerless. Wanchitong, this giant owl creature, comes down and tells our characters to basically fuck off and no humans are allowed in his library. He is later convinced to let Team Avatar look around as they said they were looking for knowledge. Toward the end of the episode, however, Wanchitong turns into a giant owl shaped like a dragon and starts a cool chase sequence with our characters. That's a nice first impression because, well, did I mention that Wanchitong is terrifying?
So I'm going to be giving this flavor 8.5 out of 10 scoops.
You may call this one cheating, but I'm putting multiple characters at number 8. I'm of course talking about the Freedom Fighters, Jet, Smellerbee, Longshot, Pipsqueak, Sneers, and the Duke. A lot of people don't like the Jet episode because Katara is a bit of a damsel and Jet is uninteresting, according to most people, but I kind of disagree with that last point. I do kind of agree with the first one, but not the last point. Jet, I feel, made a pretty good first impression, a rebel wanting revenge on the Fire Nation for killing his parents when he was at a young age. Meanwhile, you got Longshot, who never talks, but you see he has a great eye when it comes to his bow and arrow. You got Smellerbee, who is kinda the leader other than Jet, You got the Duke, who's the small guy, but uses that to his advantage. You got Pipsqueak, who's the big guy, and uses that to his advantage. And Sneers, who didn't really do anything here, but alright. I know I put a lot of the Freedom Fighters pretty low on my tier list video, but upon rewatching, I actually like them a lot more, and that's partially due to the great first impression they came with. Just needed a second watch, I guess, really. That's all.
36.
Very close, but that's not it. Let's go to Gary the Retard. What number between 2 and 4?
Each season had a main villain. Season 2, I'd say it was Azula. Season 3, Azula was still a big deal, but I'd say it was more Ozai. Season 1, I'd say it was Zhao. Oh boy, did they make you hate Zhao, and want to see him die the second he was introduced. He first appears in the 3rd episode of the series, asking Zuko about his damaged ship that Aang caused when trying to escape. Zuko makes some shit up about what happened to his ship. Zhao then asks Zuko how his search for the Avatar is going. Zuko says that he hasn't found him yet. Zhao brings up that the Avatar probably died 100 years ago, but then also brings up the possibility that he might still be alive. Zuko denies again and again, but then the guards come up and say Zuko let the Avatar escape. Then Zhao, in the most conniving way possible, says, he just sounds like a dick, and that may also be partially due to Jason Isaacs' performance as the character, and he does great. Not to mention, Zhao challenges Zuko to an Agni Kai in this same episode, which he loses, but still. This all happened in one episode, Zhao's first episode.
Okay, Mrs. Puff, what's my final score? 6.
If there is any character that needs a strong first impression other than your main character, it's probably your main villain. And Fire Lord Ozai, which I'd say is the main villain of the whole series, whether or not he's the best villain is up to you, did not disappoint. Now I'm sure you may also be questioning what his actual introduction was, as he wasn't fully shown till the 3rd season, but appeared as a silhouette in flashbacks in both seasons 1 and 2. I consider his introduction to be in the season 1 episode, The Storm, the best season 1 episode in my opinion, where he is just a silhouette in a flashback, yeah, but still made a very strong first impression. Zuko, at age 13 mind you, speaks out during a war meeting, and his punishment is that he has to duel the general. However, it turns out Zuko isn't dueling the general. He's dueling his own father, Fire Lord Ozai. Zuko begs for mercy as he meant his father no disrespect, but then Ozai doesn't listen and gives Zuko a permanent scar on his face. Even though they didn't really show Ozai till season 3, this is still one hell of a first impression. Also Mark Hamill.
Oh, chills. Literal chills.
It was number 5. Number 5 is my brother.
Oh my god, I forgot about it.
There are many introductions in the first episode because, well, it's the first episode. The first from that episode I'll be talking about is Zuko and Iroh. They share a spot on the list because they were sort of introduced together. This is a short and simple yet telling character introduction. After Katara breaks Aang out of the iceberg, a giant glow appears. Then we get a shot of Zuko saying, "Finally," which tells us he's probably been trying to get a hold of the Avatar for some time. Zuko then looks over to Iroh and asks if he realizes what this means, to which Iroh responds, "I won't get to finish my game," to where Zuko basically says his search is coming to an end. Right there, we already know what he means. But then Zuko also says that the light came from a powerful source and it must be the Avatar, to where Iroh basically tells Zuko not to get his hopes up and asks him for tea, to where Zuko makes it abundantly clear that he doesn't want any tea. This already shows that Zuko is determined to find the Avatar and gets angry a lot, while Iroh is more laid back. This is a very quick scene and a very quick double character introduction, but you know already how these two characters are alike by this introduction alone.
7, 5.
While Ozai, Zhao, Zuko, and Iroh all had great introductions, Azula beats all of them. I really did not intend for 5 Fire Nation entries in a row, but who cares? Azula is first teased at the very end of the finale of Season 1, and you know right away she is Zuko's sister, but more than that, evil sister. This is further proven in the premiere of Season 2, where she monologues about how Zuko and Iroh are traitors and disgraces to the Fire Nation after stopping Zhao from stealing the Moon Spirit. She also tells the soldiers that if they hesitate to attack Zuko or Iroh, she won't hesitate to attack them. Not to mention, towards the end of the episode, Azula tries to secretly get Zuko and Iroh on board as prisoners. Only they didn't know that they were going to be prisoners, and only found out because one of the guards is an idiot and called them prisoners by accident. Throughout the rest of the series, you see Azula as someone more hateable than Zhao and Long Feng, who's not on this list, but god did they make me hate him. And as the series progresses, you hate Azula more and more, and her introduction was a great way to start. Now we get to 2 more characters introduced at the same time, as well as being introduced with the show. As in, they were the first 2 characters to be shown in the entire series, unless you count the intro. I'm, of course, talking about Katara and Saka. We start off with Sokka trying to catch a fish, and seems pretty cocky about it, and also bad at it. Then Katara shows us all her water-bending skills, and actually gets the fish that way. Sokka doesn't realize that Katara just caught the fish, to where he accidentally pokes the fish and gets himself wet. We also then later get to see that Sokka is a bit of a skeptic when it comes to water bending, and says it's just magic water. The two soon crash their boat and get mad at each other, where Sokka says,
"I knew I should have left you home. Leave it to a girl to screw things up."
Which shows us that Sokka is a bit sexist, something that'll bite him in the ass later on. Katara starts yelling at Sokka, but unknowingly causes a giant iceberg, which happens to be the one Aang is in, to explode, which shows us just how powerful her water bending is. And I'll go on with what happens next later in a different entry, but wow, talk about 2 strong first impressions.
What kind of pencil do we take again?
Number 2. Take a number 2.
Looks like you took a big number 2.
Look, the last 2 spots are a toss-up, in my opinion. What happens to land at number 2, though, is Toph. It's simple. Just introduce this little blind girl in an earthbending tournament with a character literally based off The Rock in it as well. Have her appear as the champion and have her retain her champion. If that's not already good enough, Aang then challenges her and she immediately trash talks him by saying, "That leaves one hell of an impression. And if that wasn't enough, still, pretty much the whole episode is centered around introducing Toph and establishing her as someone more than her parents think she is. And you really do feel bad for her there, as it doesn't seem like her parents let her really do anything. The Blind Bandit may be one of my favorite episodes of the series, as it establishes Toph so well that the next episode with her in, it felt like she was just always there. So that's good. Bruh, you know number one is Aang. Not counting the intro, again, Aang was like, what, the 5th character shown? After Katara breaks Aang out of the iceberg, Aang is talking like he's almost on the verge of death. He tells Katara to come closer and he needs to tell her something. But then he says, instantly, you know that Aang is a goofy kid. But later on in this same episode, you then soon learn and realize he kinda has the fate of the world in his hands, in a way. Not to mention, throughout the series, you see Aang progress and develop as a character and become more than just a goofy kid. And his development just feels so natural. In my opinion, I feel that this is all because his introduction set the stage so damn well and showed not only what kind of character Aang is, but also what kind of character he will be gearing up to be. And that's why he is number 1. Well, that was the top 10 best character introductions in Avatar: The Last Airbender. The 3rd list in Oddly Specific Top 10 List Week. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another Oddly Specific Top 10 list. If you like this video, come subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.